Okay, so who do we think's winning so far?
Rubio.
That's interesting. I don't. Number one, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Number two, I think I'm a little more sure as to who's losing, and that's Jeb Bush, because there's a fight. There's two factions here: the outsiders and the establishment. Right? No matter what they say about how they're going to change Washington, blah, 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 blah. Rubio, Jeb Bush, and Kasich are the establishment guys. Okay, and so I don't like the establishment overall. Are they better than maniacs like Ted Cruz? Yes, but I mean, we're talking about a Hobson's choice here. Okay, so I think Kasich has made a case for himself. Yeah. I think Rubio had some good one-liners and made somewhat of a case for himself. Jeb Bush has not acquitted himself very well so far.
He had one exchange, right? Yeah. Jeb Bush looked like he might get the better of Rubio, but then Rubio came back very strong.
Yeah, right. It was a good attempt.
With the John McCain thing.
I think that Huckabee's last answers were right. I don't actually trust him to manage Social Security, but all of what he was saying about the means testing and the obligation and all of that, I mean, it was laced with unnecessary anti-government propaganda, but the actual points he was making were right. And it points out not just Chris Christie's demonic plans for entitlement reform, but that the rest of them share. He's only attacking Christie by name and by weight, but the rest of them are sort of implicated. But I would say, I'm totally biased, I think that Kasich, although he hasn't spoken recently, maybe it's just that he's saying what I want one of them to say, but I think it could be an effective strategy.
Well, Kasich's whole thing, yesterday his rant ended with, what happened to the conservative party? What happened to the conservative movement? Well, what do you think happened to it? It was Fox News. You got rid of the fairness doctrine. Ronald Reagan wedded you to the religious right, and all these things happened. And then Citizens United. What the fuck do you think happened to the? Are you kidding me? It's right there. That's what happened. Fox Newsification of your party.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring that up is because one of those guys is going to have to come out and be the standard bearer for the donors, the establishment, et cetera. And they're going to pour money behind that guy. Walker used to be in that camp, but he quit like a good water boy. And it's important to figure out who it is that they're going to pour all those resources into to try to beat Trump, because I think Carson is temporary. Overall, I agree with Jimmy on that. So I think right now it's still Rubio. Right from the beginning, Adelson, the Koch brothers, et cetera, that's the one candidate they could agree on. They apparently pushed Walker out of the campaign to give more to Rubio and concentrate around him. Kasich's making a little bit of a run, but boy, Jeb is fading, man.
Yeah.
He's really fading.
He's entitled and he's mad, and Rubio, he has a track record of loving water. If you need a water boy, he's the one.
Yeah.
So
he'll do their bidding. I think that's right. It's funny. I expected a little more fight from Jeb Bush, and he seems like one of those guys who can't take a punch.
Yeah, like when on the that's so funny because I had this vision when you were talking about the back and forth between Jeb and Rubio. Like Jeb was like one of those guys that boxes like this, right? And he got one across the chin like this to Rubio, and Rubio was like, "Oh," and Jeb was like, and then Rubio went boom and like crumbled him. He was like, "Oh no," right? Yeah. And we haven't heard from him since. Now I know they're coming back, but I think he's like George H.W. Bush, and on policy grounds, there was some things to be said for the first Bush, but he was always a bad politician.
Yeah.
And I think his son's a bad politician in this case.